So you want to travel abroad, but you aren't sure with COVID where you can get healthy food with an ocean or jungle view, and don't forget an awesome yoga space. Well, folks, I have one of the finest travel guides with me today to discuss everything when it comes to safe and ethical travel to, yes, Costa Rica. Dust off your suitcase and grab your passport. Let's go. So you've been to a few or maybe many yoga classes and you are hooked. Somehow you feel better, kinder, more connected to yourself and those around you. Your friends view you as a hippie now, and your parents, well, they think it's a phase. Regardless, when you are on your mat, you are home. Yoga teachers and students, come learn how yoga can help you navigate the daily grind, breakups, your anxiety from a place of clarity and compassion. Welcome to the Modern Yogi Podcast, hosted by me, Laura Siljander. Misfits, earthlings, yogis, take a deep breath, check in to see how you're doing, body, mind, and soul, because you have arrived. Hi everyone, I'm here with Tara Tiedemann with Viva Adventures. Hi Tara.
Hey Laura.
Y'all, I call her Bangs, so Tara is Bangs. If you don't know why, just look at her picture and you'll know why. But Bangs, how long have you had this haircut?
I've had this haircut my whole life.
So Bangs is with us. She is a travel guide to Central America, but to make it so we can kind of narrow it down, we're going to just talk about Costa Rica. We'll throw in some Nicaragua, we'll throw in some Guatemala when we're talking about our trips. But for the most part, we're talking about Costa. I think you live there, don't you, Bangs?
Oh yes, I live down in the South Pacific in Costa Rica.
I think you moved there for a wave.
I did, actually. There's a wave that's walking distance to my house called Tiedemann, and it's awesome. It's a nice friendly wave. I previously was at a wave that was a little more of a beatdown, so I live by a nice friendly wave. A lot of fun.
I feel like many of us move to places for like a job or a good school system. Bangs moves for the swell.
Yes, I mean, you know, what's most important in life, right? Being outside.
Yes. So how does a Midwest girl such as yourself end up in Costa Rica?
So, fun fact, I was born and raised in the Midwest, and I've always loved the water ever since I've been a little girl. And I decided to do the Peace Corps back in 2010, and I was in Guatemala. And then I went on a surf trip to Costa Rica and realized how awesome the waves are there, and decided to move back in 2015.
So you've been living there ever since. What is that, like 11-ish years in Central America? She's shaking her head yes. What brought you to your yoga mat? What's your yoga story?
Okay, so my yoga story basically comes from athletics. I have always been big into any sport, whether it be skiing or snowboarding or biking, or now it's surfing and open water swimming and all the things. So all of that kind of can wreck your body sometimes. It can be a lot. So I found yoga a while back as a way to try to help recover. So I am huge into restorative yoga and yin yoga. Like, I love just getting into those poses and trying to let my muscles relax, and also work on some flexibility and range of motion stuff with it as well, just because that all applies into my love of sports and trying to keep this body healthy and running at its optimum so I can keep doing it forever.
I feel like asana brings so many of us to our mats, and then it just transforms from there. We're like, oh, okay, I'll take a power class or a gentle class. And it's just interesting how asana, the postures just gravitate us, and then we stay there for all different kinds of reasons, whether that be physical, whether that be emotional or spiritual. Can you tell me how you went from Peace Corps, Costa Rica, to guiding trips?
Yes. So I'm a travel guide. I have a company called Viva Adventures. So in the Peace Corps, I was a sustainable community tourism volunteer. And what that basically means is how to travel without kind of wrecking or Americanizing the place that you're visiting. And it really opened up some new ideas for me. I'd previously been in the travel industry, working out in the mountains and steamboat and the canyons out in Park City, and was kind of on the flip side, working at resorts. And then after Peace Corps, I decided, why not start my own business?
Mm-hmm. As you all know, I work in the university and I take students abroad. And when we hit the Central America zone, we hit up Bangs to guide our trips, to set up the itineraries, to make sure that we're doing this ethically, sustainably, and also like culturally. So if you've ever done like an all-inclusive, you notice that you stay on the American resort. You don't really dive into the culture as much. That's how Bangs and I met. We met to our trip to Guatemala. It was an adventure trip. So we have two different kind of trips that we've run before. And so you can kind of get a flavor of Bangs' style. I want to talk about both. But the first trip we went on was an adventure trip. Adventure trip can mean a lot of things. It means a lot of physical activity. It's a lot of pushing yourself physically and mentally beyond what you think you can do. So it's really fun because we get our students physically prepared and hopefully mentally, but we work on that more in the moment. But you have to train for these kinds. So we make sure they're hitting the gym, going for jogs, stair climber, that they are working out. So these trips are, we've hiked volcanoes, we've done overnight rafting trips, we've hiked into the jungle for days, we've done epic surfing trips, and all of this is wrapped up into like one study abroad or one program. But then on the flip side, we've done more of the blue zone thing. So if you don't know what the blue zones are there are these pockets around the world where people live to be at least 100 years old. And there's a lot of them there. And when they do like physical and cognitive testing on these folks, I mean, y'all, they are a lot healthier than most middle-aged Americans. I mean, imagine we're watching this old woman with all these spices on her back hiking up this mountain and she's like 90. It's incredible. It's incredible. So that's what the Blue Zone is. And that's another trip that we've guided students on that, of course, Banks has been an integral role. Without her, it wouldn't happen. And that's more of cultural immersion, cooking classes, kind of living the Blue Zone lifestyle.
The Blue Zone trip is based in Nicoya, Costa Rica. That's one of the identified Blue Zones. Also, if you'd like to learn more about it, Dan Buettner wrote an amazing book, and you can get a lot of insight from him. And that's how we've targeted these places to go travel and visit. So anyways, when we go to the Blue Zones, we meet local families, we eat all the local food. You might be wondering what Ticos eat, and Tico also means Costa Rican. So they have a great little nickname, and they eat a lot of things like rice and beans and a plate called casado, which basically means married in Spanish, and it includes salad and a protein and rice and beans, plantains, and it's excellent. It's a very filling lunch. Lunch is the biggest meal there. It's something different and very Blue Zone style. A lot of movement, being by the ocean, seeing blue spaces, and just walking a lot more. We're not in the car very much. We're outside. We're in nature, fresh air, and it's a great experience. People feel a lot different after the trip. They notice some changes have happened.
So I feel like yogis, ahimsa, non-harming, one of the first yamas that we're actually taught goes a lot hand in hand with some of this like Blue Zone lifestyle. So if you don't know what ahimsa is, I have a whole episode on it. I'll link to it in the show notes. I'll also link to all of Bangs' stuff in the show notes and Dan Buettner's book, The Blue Zones, because it's an awesome read. But back to ahimsa, that non-harming. As yogis, this is a foundation of how we live. We try to be as ethical and do as little harm as possible. And this just get left in the States when we go travel. I'm wondering, Bangs, like what are some ways that tourists can be more ethical travelers?
Oh, this is a good one. This is the basically core of my business. And what it is it's supporting local families. When people travel on my trips, I make sure to point out Like, look around you. Everywhere we're staying is a local business, and you're talking with or seeing face-to-face the person that's directly benefiting from you being there. It's not a multinational corporation. It's literally this family that's right in front of you that is receiving the payment for the service they're providing for you, be it lodging, be it eating at their family restaurant, or they might be your guide in the jungle. So it's great to see the money go directly to these families, because that's what truly helps them the most. Also, a lot of times in communities, you might see Americans coming in and wishing it was exactly like it was back home. And a question there is, well, then what motivates you to travel if you want everything like it is back home, right? It's kind of all about getting out there, seeing something new, trying new foods, experiencing a new culture, and then bringing that home and telling the story. So I really encourage people to get out there, kind of get out of your comfort zone. Sure, it's definitely not easy, but expand your horizons, try new foods, meet people. A lot of people want to talk to you. Even in Costa Rica, a lot of people speak English, or you can try your Spanish skills. And it's a lot of fun. It can be a little nerve-wracking, but I encourage you to just get out there and do it. You'll learn a ton, and it might give you some new insights, too, on your life.
So when we go to Costa Rica, we shouldn't stay at the Holiday Inn and eat McDonald's?
I mean, you can if you want to, but, it's the way... Costa Ricans have their own culture, and why not experience that? I mean, I think everyone's better off for it, and the money goes back to these local communities and the local entrepreneurs there, and you'll be supporting them directly, so why not?
It's interesting to think about ahimsa in a way of dollars. We think about non-harming, like don't flick someone off, don't yell at people, be kind, but not a doormat. Things like that. Like I can go on and on about ahimsa, but do we think about our ahimsa as the way that we spend our money? So something to kind of think about with ahimsa is putting your money where your morals are. If you don't want to give to the big corporations and you rather keep your money local, which is what most of us want, that's true abroad as well. Okay, we're going to take a quick break from the show to give you story time. Okay, so we're going to do one extreme story and one serene story each. You're going to love this. This will kind of give you a flavor of like Central America on their extremes. My serene was in Guiones at Bodhi Tree Resort. It is a little Western, y'all. I'm going to put that out there, but oh my stars. It's the most beautiful yoga studio I have ever seen. You like walk up these stairs and you feel like you're in the jungle and you're just surrounded green, lush, and bright colored flowers. There's pools and just an awesome vegan spot where people are drinking, talking, laughing. And then you go down this like little corridor and it leads you to, and they have a couple yoga places where you can practice. But the one that stands out to me is we walked up this corridor. So these kind of narrow steps and it winded up. And then all of a sudden I felt like I was at the treetops and I could see the ocean over the treetops. And it was an open studio, so all the windows were open and there was the airflow was going through, and it was just so incredibly serene. I'll never forget that experience. And I actually went back, I think, like 3 times in 1 week because I couldn't get enough. Yogis, when you found your spot or your teacher, you're like, I want more. All right, Banks, what is your serene?
Well, actually, I was going to switch it up and go extreme because that's Costa Rica.
I like it.
Costa Rica is you're serene and then all of a sudden it's extreme. You never know, which is why I love it, It keeps you on your toes. Anyway, so an extreme story is when we were in Costa Rica, we had a group and we decided to stand up this river. And the river does have some crocodiles in it, but we were all just kind of like, probably won't see them. They're there. So we start going down the river, and the guides all of a sudden get serious. These are like joking guides before, and all of a sudden they're serious, and they're like, stay in the middle. We're all kind of like, why? And they're like, it's crocodile nesting season, and they're mostly on the banks, and the mamas can get protective of their babies. So we're like, oh, okay. And people are going down the river, and someone gets close to the bank, and they're like, no, stay in the middle. And I'm like, oh boy, because, Ticos are pretty fun, loving, not super serious, but when they're suddenly getting serious like this, I'm like, oh, this is a sign. So we go down the river and we spot some little baby crocodiles, which are really cute. And they're swimming around, but we don't see anything else, just the babies. And we go down to the end, and people are falling off their stand-up paddle boards and joking around and splashing. But it's also easy to fall off because we're in the mangrove, and so there's mangrove roots that can snag you and snag the fins, and you can fall off pretty easily. And also when you're tired. Anyways, we're coming back, and all of a sudden our guide, Rio, spots the mama crocodile, and she's hanging out by the bank. And at this point, people are getting tired, falling off, and we're like, don't fall off. And Rio's like, come closer to look at the croc. And then Laura comes in a little bit closer. He's like, not that close. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like cruising by. I'm like, okay, that's good. Nice mama croc. But I'm really hoping that no one falls off because we have a group. And I'm like, please don't fall off. Costa Rica is crazy because I feel like you're always on that fine edge between this is awesome, kind of scary, but if you do the wrong move or fall in the wrong place, like it could get real fast. So anyways, this is just exhibit A of things that might happen.
In our group, I feel like we listened to as soon as he said Laura too close, like I paddled back. Like this is not my turf. I don't know. So I feel like really listening to your guides, that's important. And I remember paddling away from that mama croc, and I had a bunch of my students next to me, and they're like, Laura, I'm scared. I was like, no worries. Drop down to your knees. Stay close to me. We paddled away, and everything was totally fine. We had this amazing experience. And the mantra, Loka Samisa Soki Nu Babantu, came to mind. So may all beings be free, and may my actions support their freedom. It's like this coexisting. The crocs left us alone. We left them alone. We respected each other. And it was all good. So I'm just putting a little yogic spin on that.
Awesome.
Obviously, this podcast is called The Modern Yogi Bangs. A bunch of us love our yoga. And when we travel, we want our yoga too. So what are some ways that we can find awesome yoga spots that are safe, that are healthy, and that are just awesome?
That is an awesome question, and that's one of the fun things about traveling, and actually one of the benefits of having the internet at this point, because Costa Rica is an amazing yoga destination. There's a lot of places you can do yoga there. One of the hot spots is Nosara. It's up in the Nicoya Peninsula. They have the Bodhi tree. They have a few other spots. But you can actually look it up online, and a lot of times they will post their class schedules, and you can just show up. And who cares if you don't know anyone or you don't know the place, or you might need an extra 30 minutes to try to find it. But it's all part of the adventure, right? And pretty soon you might be finding yourself in an amazing yoga studio overlooking the ocean and feeling the tropical breeze come through and meeting new friends from all around the world. It's a really cool perk of traveling and being a yogi. You just meet people from all walks of life all over the world. Also down south where I live, there's another great spot called Bodhi Surf and Yoga, and they also offer yoga and surf packages. So they're another great one as well. But basically in any of the communities in Costa Rica, you can find yoga from up in San Jose in the cities all the way to these tiny beach towns. And if you don't have it, you can always, if you're staying at a hostel or your hotel, go to the beach and just bring out your mat. You can get a travel mat or even your beach towel. It's super chill there. And just do your own yoga on the beach.
Another thing that comes to mind is food. We talked a little bit about food, but I know I'm not alone that when I travel, like I want good food. And like many of you, I'm plant-based. Like I'm 100% vegan, but for those of you who are like pescatarian, vegetarian, all those things, this is something that's on my mind. So you mentioned a little bit about lunch being the biggest meal, beans and rice. What kind of other plant-based eats can you get at some of these like yoga places or even like in town?
Yeah, so the cool thing is in Costa Rica, a lot of the Costa Rican diet is plant-based. So the typical meal might be rice and beans, a salad, fried plantains. It's super easy to go into any restaurant, or they're called sodas, or like the local diners. and ask for a vegetarian plate. And for $5 or $6, you get this huge plate full of all plant-based food that's homemade, and it's so good. Also, in some of these yoga retreat places, they also have vegan restaurants, like up in Nosara, I've mentioned that. They have a great number of vegan restaurants that you can actually go to and get, vegan burgers or whatever the new concoctions are, vegan desserts. So they have those treat places as well. But even if you find yourself in super remote Costa Rica, a small town, you will get vegetarian or plant-based food anywhere, and people know about it, and they're very accommodating and no problem serving you plant-based food that will be delicious.
I learned about cocoa bacon in Playa Guiones, and you put it on tacos, burgers, but I learned about this in Playa Guiones, which is right next to Nosara. I feel like this is important, the difference between Nosara and Guiones. Can you talk about that?
Yes. Okay, so this happens all the time. People are saying, I'm going to Nosara, and everyone refers to it as Nosara. But the Nosara is actually the local little town, and that's located away from the ocean. So it's about a 5-minute drive. They actually just recently paved the road there. For people that haven't been there recently, that road is a new story. Anyway, Playa Guiones is actually the beach area, and that's where most of the hotels and hostels are, the yoga studios, things like that. If you're a surfer and want to be up in the morning to go surf, it's more recommended to stay in Playa Guiones just because you're that much closer to the waves within walking distance. So when you're looking on a website or something to book your trip, or if you want to talk to me, I'll probably mention Playa Guiones, and that's actually where you want to be, but the whole general area is referred to as Nosara, but the beach is Guiones.
I have some yogi questions. So I put it out on social media about questions that you all had about travel these days, and one of the questions was, what are the travel restrictions to Costa Rica? So as an American trying to get into Costa Rica and as an American trying to get out of Costa Rica, as of September 2021, what are the travel restrictions to Costa Rica with COVID and such?
Okay, so these things are changing as always, but currently, if you are a vaccinated American, you can come into Costa Rica without purchasing additional health insurance. If you're unvaccinated, then you can purchase a health insurance policy. It's about $10 a day, and it would cover your, if you ever needed a hospital stay or if you need to quarantine or something, your lodging and your meals would be all covered with that policy. And as far as coming back to the States, right now they're just requiring a negative antigen test within 3 days of your flight returning to the U.S. And that's something I can also help you set up. I've got all the local clinics and get you a time confirmed and make it super easy so it's not overwhelming at all.
When I was in Guiones with Bangs a few months ago, I think it was May, I remember they were taking the antigen test. I was sitting outside under a palm tree next to this pink flower. I'm like, this is unreal. I don't mind getting my antigen. Go ahead, shove it up my nose because I'm in like a good area right now. Another question that we had is how to avoid super touristy attractions and how to connect more with the culture, but being safe too.
Okay, this is a great question. I would just say, think about what it is you want to do while you're there. If you start looking up things online and you start noticing a lot of things like casinos popping up and big internationally known hotel chains in the area, you kind of get the vibe for what that area will offer. And for some people, that's exactly what they're looking for. And other people, it's not. So that's kind of how you can kind of help differentiate what different areas offer. If you also need help, please feel free to contact me and let me know what you're looking for, and I can help get you set up in the right direction.
Budget-friendly tips for Costa Rica. What are your best budget-friendly tips?
Okay, I've got a couple main ones. The first one is slow travel, which is another really great conscious traveler ethic. The slower you travel and the longer you stay in one place, you're going to save a ton of money because you're not paying for the transportation, which is very expensive to get from one place to the other. And also, you're just going at a slower pace. So maybe you're staying in a place where you can cook some of your own meals instead of eating every meal out. You can do more free activities such as playing in the ocean, or you're just not going from place to place really fast, eating every meal out because you don't have time to cook. And, that's a great way to save money. So slow travel is a big one. The second one is transportation. So Costa Rica has a bus system that gets to basically every place in Costa Rica. It's not going to be fast, but you will get there. The first time I ever traveled to Costa Rica, I literally traveled with a backpack and my surfboard and took the local buses. And it was slow. I mean, we left, I think, Liberia, the airport up north, at 5 a.m. And I got to Guiones, the surf destination, at 4 p.m. that evening. So it was like an 11-hour trip. But I learned a lot and sat in some bus terminals. And, it was a grueling trek to get there. But I think it cost me like $3. Or you can get a private shuttle to take you there. And you'll be looking at probably anywhere between 70 and 80. Or if you rent your own vehicle, then you're starting to look at probably around $70 to $80 a day for the use of that. You can also travel with friends and all share a place, get an Airbnb. Safety in numbers is always good, but I do encourage solo travel. I've done it myself as a single girl for a long time. I've been on the road by myself for about 11 years in Central America, so there is a way to do it safely. I can also give you a lot of tips on that. If you have questions, just let me know. There's ways to save money. Cooking your own meals is another great way. Get a place that has a kitchen or a hostel that has a kitchen. A lot of them do. Cook your own meals or make friends at the hostel and all pitch in and cook a meal together. But eating out and traveling fast and using a rental car is a way to drive up that cost real fast. So, it has its pluses and minuses, and there's conveniences to doing one over the other, but you can just pick and choose what you want and what fits your budget.
I feel like when we stayed together at that Airbnb in Guiones, we cooked 2 meals and would eat out 1 meal a day. And that worked really well. Then we split it 3 ways because it was you, myself, and my wife. And it was great. I feel like that was a really budget-friendly trip. The Wi-Fi is getting better. I wouldn't say it's American Wi-Fi. It's not American Wi-Fi is pretty dependable. I would say Costa Rican Wi-Fi, it's getting there. What do you think?
That's a really good thing to bring up, especially for your digital nomads out there, because there are storms and power outages, so sometimes it just goes out. And if you really need it to work all the time, that's not a guarantee. So it's good to let people know if you have scheduled meetings and things, that if there's a storm during that time or it gets really loud because of the storm, you might not have connection. There's ways to get around it. You can get a battery pack and things like that, but that just makes things more complicated. That's part of the process, right? It's all about slowing down, going with the flow, trying not to stress about it. But yeah, I understand. I also work online, so I get it.
I'm going to share my extreme. We're in Guatemala. This is one of my first times leading an event or helping lead a venture trip with students, and we're hiking up a volcano. Acatenango is the name of the volcano, and it is steep. It is so steep, and it's an all-day affair. At this time do you remember when swine flu was a thing? So I had swine flu. And I was just trying to push my symptoms aside because I was like, I have these students. I'm hiking up this volcano. Don't have time to be sick. And so we all live at sea level, and my students are getting tired. And so I'm offering to carry their water or I carry their packs, and I have swine flu. And I'm just kind of falling apart. As the day goes on, I'm just kind of deteriorating because I'm so sick. And I think Lisa was there, my wife, and she was like, what's your deal? You're usually so happy. What's going on? I was like, I just feel so sick. And what was funny is I didn't know I had swine flu. I didn't know that until I got back from the States, which is crazy. So at night we get up there, we camp, and it is really cold because we're on top of this volcano, and this volcano across from us,
it's a volcano named Fuego.
Oh, Fuego is erupting. And I mean smoke, lava. You can hear it, you can feel it, you can smell it. Even, with swine flu in my nasal passages, I could still smell all of it. So we are camping out. We're eating. I remember they made me vegetarian chili, and we all have 10 layers on, plus trash bags. I don't know why, but we had trash bags on.
Insulation.
Insulation. And we're camping, and I'm sleeping in my trash bag. throughout the night, I'm getting like chills and stuff, feverish symptoms, but throughout the night, you hear the volcano erupt and you look out and then you see like the outside like light up because it's like lava. And you feel heat, you hear it. There is a volcano erupting. I mean, it's all good. I didn't feel like I was in danger. And let me tell you, where you go potty is like at the edge of the volcano. So you are going to the bathroom and watching this volcano erupt in front of you. It's an epic shit, y'all. That is my extreme Guatemala Acatenango. Now it's time for Bangs Serene.
So I'm literally almost in tears laughing over here because that was awesome. I was just, okay, so we're going to bring it back down a little bit. It's not always like this. No. And if you don't want to do this, you don't have to. But if you do, just let us know because we'll make it happen. Anyway, so back to the serene, just to like take it down a notch and just kind of breathe a little bit at the end of this podcast. Let me tell you what an epic surf that I had with one of the students that was on the trip. His name is Peter, and he's awesome. And we decided to go over one morning and jump on a boat over in Bocas del Toro, Panama, and try to surf a new wave. And it was kind of one of those deals where it was pretty stormy and cloudy, and there was this wind. And it was one of those where it's like, probably won't be very good, but let's just go anyways and see what happens. So we jump on this boat, and we head over there. And all of a sudden, we get to the other side of the island, and it is like glass and just an amazing left-hander reef break. And we had one of the best sessions in my life. I remember this because I think the weather kept a lot of people home that day. No one wanted to go out and surf. They thought it would be crap. But we got there and it was glass, and there was only like probably 4 other guys out, and we were just trading off these epic waves, glassy conditions, but it was still kind of that like stormy dark sky. But the water over in Bocas is kind of this like deep turquoise, so it was just magical. So we all surfed until our arms were about to fall off, and then jumped in the boat and went back. But I just remember that surf sesh stands out, and it always kind of reminds me that even if you think it's gonna suck, just go anyways, because what if? That's also one of my favorite phrases, by the way. What if it is awesome? So yes, that was epic.
I don't know about you all, but being locked up in our homes for over a year, it's hard. And being able to have experiences like this almost like reboots the soul.
And that's so true. I mean, Costa Rica, the good thing right now about it always basically is that everything's open air, so you can be outside. You're at the beach. You're doing yoga in an open air studio with good airflow. You're eating at restaurants that are also open air. So you can safely travel down there even in these crazy times and feel pretty good because you've got a lot of outdoor time and you're getting that nice vitamin D from the sun. I mean, I just remember too one of our trips up in Guatemala where we were at the lake, and we were at Lake at Tiedemann, and there's this beautiful yoga studio up there where we had one of our trips, and we're doing yoga. We're doing acro yoga actually. And we had an amazing instructor with us named Mercedes, who's also been on this podcast. Mm-hmm. And she was leading us in some acro yoga, and we were looking out at this amazing lake with volcanoes on either side, and it was just such a special place. Just, I don't know, some amazing experiences, some highlights of your life and my life have happened there on these trips and in Costa Rica and Central America.
So I guess now that we're bringing up like other countries and Costa Rica is not an island. And if you thought it was, it's all good, but it's not. You've got countries around it. If this is something that you are dying to do, but maybe you don't feel safe as a female, maybe you don't want to deal with all the logistics, because I can't stand logistics. I don't like them. Maybe you just want to have an epic experience, but you don't know where to start. But there's a group of you, a few of you, maybe your family. They're wanting to take a trip to Costa Rica, Central America, Panama, Guatemala, Nicaragua. Maybe consider a guide like my friend Banks. It's been epic every time. Banks, what kind of client do you usually cater to?
So yeah, the clients that usually come to me are those that are looking for the locals' feel something that you wouldn't find just hunting around on the internet, or maybe you could stumble across it, but it would be by chance. People that come to me are looking for the adventure. They're looking for the best spots, the best places to eat. And that's basically what I do, is if there's a new place that I haven't been to and I've got a group that has interest, I'll go there and inspect it and try all the places, and the places that are great we'll go to, and the places that are bad or make me sick, I'll be like, well, they don't have to go through that experience. I did it for them. And so when they come, everyone's getting the best of the best, because I've already gone and checked it out and make sure that that's the case, right? So I get people that are usually looking for kind of a local experience. They want an element of adventure, but they don't want to worry about the logistics. They want to get there and be able to turn that part of their brain off and just know, like, oh, if we need transport, Tara's got it lined up. She'll have either the boat there to get us out to the waves, or the bus there to get us to the trailhead so we can hike in the jungle, or the raft there so when we get out of the jungle, we can hop in the rafts and go down to a river lodge that's only accessible by boat. I'll figure that stuff out for you, and I speak Spanish, so it's no problem at all if the people we are working with don't speak any English. So you can kind of just rest assured you're going to get the best of the best and have it all figured out, and you can just come and have fun and play and relax, and I'll deal with all the rest of it.
What's your social? What's your email? What's your URL? Give us all the dirty details.
Cool. Well, we'll have this in the show notes as well, but I can be reached via email, tara@vivaadventures.com. I have Instagram at Viva Adventures. My website is also Viva Adventures. There's a common theme here if you're not noticing this. We can set up a Zoom call if you just want to talk to me and ask some questions. I can help give you some specific answers if that's what you're looking for. But feel free, just reach out and let me know, and I'm happy to help you.
So being that Bangs is a female and she's been solo traveling for a while now, if this is something that interests you, if you are thinking about being a solo traveler but you don't know where to start, if you're a female and you're worried about it, nervous about it, you've got questions about it, please reach out to me or Bangs, and maybe we'll do another episode on female solo traveling or just solo traveling. We obviously only have from the female perspective. So if this is something that interests you, if I get enough messages about it, we'll do another episode. Thanks. Thank you. I appreciate you being here.
This has been awesome. Thanks so much, Laura. This has been super fun.
And if you want to, you should check out some of those socials. We have pictures of us doing crazy things in awesome countries. So just saying. All right, modern yogis, don't forget to practice that compassion with your thoughts, practice that compassion with your speech, and practice that compassion with your actions. Maybe you need to get out of your house, get out of the country. Namaste, Pura Vida.